obviously this is about AI, which is fundamentally changing our lives. And what we're invoking is this really fundamental shift in how healthcare is delivered. And in that world, how should we think about medical education and workforce development? And we've read things, I'm sure all of you have read things and have thought about things and have written about things. And what we'd like to do is not apply AI to our current processes and just make those current processes work a little bit differently or more efficiently or improve them, but take this moment to actually step back and examine, are we doing things the way that we should be doing things in healthcare? And it's not common that you have that type of disruption that gives you that opportunity to really examine fundamentally the way that we behave and the way that our structures are designed. So that's our hope, is that we're able to do some of that today, because if we don't do it, it will happen anyway, and it will be shaped by relatively provincial interests. And so this is an opportunity for us to help think intentionally about this work. So again, the theme is imagination, and so I just wanted to comment. I read slowly, and I read one book at a time, and usually they're on my mind because it takes me time to read. And right now I'm reading this book called Why Does E equal MC Squared, which felt particularly relevant because we're on an MIT campus. I know Einstein is not here at MIT as faculty, but the idea of this resonated with me while I was here. And I think it actually, the one thing I'd like to pull out there is, there's many reasons people describe. Did I read the book, by the way? Why Does E equal MC by Brian Cox? I highly recommend it. It's not long. But it's a scientist from the UK that makes quantum physics accessible. I think it's hard. It is hard. I can say that factually. It is hard to understand these things, and he makes it accessible. But what he comments on is Einstein's ability to imagine, and to really imagine the unimaginable. So the idea, and I won't obviously be able to explain this well, but the simple concept that I take away from it is that space and time are not the same for two different people that are looking at it from different perspectives. And that's a relatively absurd thought, that they're not the same. And this was what people describe as the genius of Einstein, is that he can have his mind move into these absurd spaces that really do not follow any of the constraints or even facts that we assume to be true. And I'm invoking that because I'm hoping we can start to try to think that way a little bit. Just really step back and say, well, again, the way he did, space and time were true for everybody for the beginning of humankind, but he questioned that. And it was that allowed this incredible transformation that occurred with the science that he conducted. And so that's, I think we're hoping that we would be able to examine, question, imagine what we think are immutable facts in the day that we have. So sort of take this day away from our everyday, put the ways we typically think and operate aside, and free ourselves, if we can, as best that we can. We'll talk about how, and Leo, I'm sure, will explain that even further. And so we're hoping that we do that today. So let's get into that space that maybe you would look at and say, this is absurd, but that's I think where we're going to find some magic. So we have a very intentionally different and diverse group of people here, with ethicists, religious leaders, artists, indigenous voices, educators, many other perspectives. And we're excited. Again, I'm from the AMA, and we're supporting this event. We're excited about it because we are investing heavily in the space. It builds on a couple of things that we're already doing. We released earlier this week, and we're happy to share further information about a grants program in precision education, which leverages AI technologies to reimagine the way that we think about lifelong learning. And we're proud that some of our grantees are here today as well and are able to engage in this. We also today are launching a digital center and AI center, which we're also equally excited about because it builds on this idea of how do we use AI to rethink the way that we imagine healthcare. So again, there are ideas here that we are very much looking forward to not only engaging in, but propelling forward. And so we thank you for the thinking in advance that you'll be conducting today. And then lastly, I invoke imagination. I have difficulty being in that space. that Leo lives in and others in this room live in. And I imagine some others actually have that difficulty as well. And so I just want to thank the people that planned the day today. There are many, many people, Leo, of course, but his extraordinary colleagues, graduate students, mentees, and others who have really designed a remarkable set of activities, workshops, and discussions that we'll be participating in today. So thank you very much, Leo, and everyone else that helped organize. Thank you all for joining us this morning. I hope you're as excited as I am to.
Okay, we're just gonna flash the demographics or where the people are coming from today. So I just wanted to take a minute to look at who are attending this event in person as well as remotely. And as you can see here, there's a good fraction of you who are musicians. So a lot of them have daytime jobs, but they're also musicians. And someone was asking me, do you think that medical education or medical care is taking advantage of the musicians among the doctors? And I said no. But then we reached a point where we were saying that perhaps no profession is actually taking advantage of these creative skills of those who are part of their team. And then again, we are representing different communities here, and what I wanted to acknowledge are the people who came the farthest. Unfortunately, they're late because they arrived at midnight last night, but I think I see Freya just walking in now, or William. I hope that you can join us. But there are three groups of people who I think traveled the farthest. And we have 5 people from Uganda. They are our colleagues from Embarara University of Science and Technology. Please find Steve Flower. And I think they're the farthest because when they left Uganda, Uganda was still in blackout. So they've been cut off from the rest of the world. So we couldn't communicate, we couldn't text really. But they arrived last night. Unfortunately, they weren't able to join us for dinner. And then we have representatives from Latin America. So Cota and Marcela came all the way from Santiago, Chile, to represent the continent there. And the farthest when it comes to the US would be Kano. Where is she? That right. Oh, there you go, from Hawaii. And then from the Vatican, we were in Rome last September trying to seek some moral leadership from different religions. So the VD is from the governor's office of the Vatican, and then Sister Rose, she's not here yet. Oh, she was texting me earlier too. She'll be here pretty soon, but she's a nun at the Vatican. Okay, as Sanjay said, that our objective today is actually to experience the thrill of having this immense opportunity to that AI is bestowing us. And I keep saying that we're not here to get answers. We're here to learn with each other so that by the end of the day, we start knowing what questions to ask. Because trying to get answers when we are unclear of what exactly are the questions, I think is almost a waste of time. And most of us here, I think when we were younger, dreamt that we will be invited to have a seat at the table. But I think what we need to be doing is building a lot of tables. And perhaps our table would be more fun. And then those who are sitting at the table start noticing us that, hey, why are they having more fun than us? Maybe we should join their tables too. I wanted to also acknowledge that there's an abundance of privilege in this room. We have won thousands of lottery tickets to get us to this place. And our job is to redistribute the nuggets of privilege that we have for the rest of the world, because I don't think that the answers are going to come from the opportunities that we have here. So our job is to find the Demis Hassabis and the Sam Altman and Elon Musk among those who actually truly understand the problem. Because the big players right now, you could argue, maybe except for a few, I would mention Andrej Karpathy, who comes from Slovakia, but I think he understands the problems, and for that reason, he's a little bit more grounded. So enough of that. I'm not going to compare different big players in this field. And I wanted to retell a story, a video that I stumbled upon in May of 2 years ago, and I described this video in previous talks, and I just wanted to retell that story. But it's a video of a basketball, a men's basketball that was happening, but they had to interrupt because suddenly the net gets entangled. And so they paused the game, and all the men, the basketball players, started jumping, trying to all jump each other to disentangle the net. And no one can do it. So they said, we're going to stop the game, and they left the court. And then the women's cheerleading squad walks in within a minute, builds a pyramid, and disentangles the net very quickly. And I said that there are 3 lessons from this video. The first is competition always kills collaboration. All the men were trying to all jump each other. In AI, all we hear is my data is bigger than yours, my model is bigger than yours, my language model training on 1 trillion data points parameters. That mindset is not going to get us anywhere. The second lesson from that video is that you won't solve problems if you surround yourselves with people who think like you. So all the men were looking at the problem from one lens. It's like the blind man who are describing to each other the elephant, and they could only describe what they're feeling. And they never sought another way of trying to fix the problem. The third lesson, which is the most important, is that problems cannot be solved by the same people who created them. So I keep saying that the answers are not going to come here. And we keep saying that AI cannot be just doing more of the same but faster and a little bit better, because more of the same will not fix the problem. And this is why reimagination is the most important skill set. Like reimagination is really the new word for critical thinking. I want to stop using the word critical thinking because that's been thrown around forever without any result. So maybe the new word would be, maybe we replace critical thinking with 3 R's: reflection, reimagination, and reinvigoration. We need to bring back the joy of learning, because that has been taken away from us by the education systems. So I'm going to finish off. A student from Vancouver actually texted me, said that you've heard of Shoshin. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, Takeshi. Shoshin? Okay. It's a Japanese Zen concept meaning beginner's mind, referring to an attitude of openness, eagerness, and lack of preconceptions when studying or experiencing something, even at an advanced level, much like a true novice. It encourages approaching life with curiosity, humility, and wonder, preventing the close-mindedness that can come with expertise, and emphasizes endless possibilities over fixed knowledge. As Shunryu Suzuki famously said, in the beginner's mind there are many possibilities, but in the expert's mind there are few. Which brings me to the one house rule for today, which is please leave your hubris at the doorstep. And with that, we're going to open with panel number 1.